Good morning. I'm going to be demonstrating how to assemble the Laser Atlanta distance rangefinders. First, we'll start with our inventory. We have the tripod, we have the bag that contains the laser and parts, and our battery. First, we'll start with the tripod. I extend the primary heavier part of the leg first and only. It's easier to control the height if you have fewer of these degrees of freedom open. So I just tend to use just the main height setting so that the reduced end tips I keep locked in. Then I spread all three legs to their full opening. Ultimately, when we set up the tripod, we're going to want this platform where the laser will be resting to be flat over the range of motion that we think we're going to intend to rotate it. So if you're on uneven ground, you're going to need to adjust the legs to get that this plane is ultimately level as you can get. Another rule of thumb is to set the tripod to the height of about your mid-chest, so when the whole laser assembly is here, it's at eye level. So you may have to adjust this for different operators. But again, a good rule of thumb is to set this height approximately at your middle of your chest level. And again, make sure it's level. During the operation, we're also going to be using an encoder. The encoder is this box on the front, which will give us 2 decimal place accuracy on driving distance. So we're going to make sure that that is turned on, it's clearly labeled. If it's not labeled, make sure the button is pushed in the forward position. Next, we're going to install the battery. The battery comes in this Pelican case. You're going to have to open the Pelican case. There's a small button to depress. Right now, when it's not turned on, there's no lights. When it's charging, which I can show you in another video, this light will be green. But in operation, when we turn on the button, it's going to turn on a red light. That indicates the battery is now able to be used. We're going to take this nice zip tie and attach it to the carabiner on the back of the tripod so that that can hang freely. Next, we're going to open the contents of the yellow bag. There's the handle, which has the trigger, the laser head, an adapter plate, and the cable which we'll use to communicate to the battery. Essentially, it's a power cable. First, we're going to take the hand grip unit and the alignment plate. The alignment plate has a groove that fits into the top of the tripod. You're going to want the fastener, the bolt that's going to hold onto the base of this grip to be able to come through that hole in the plate. There's a nice recess for the handle grip, and so we're going to thread that onto the base of the grip. Again, tightening in a counterclockwise way. Righty-tighty. Don't overly crank it. Make sure that you can get this apart when you're done with this. Again, I want to check the levelness. Again, I'm indoors and it should be level, but make sure that before you get everything assembled that you're happy with this plane being level, the encoder's on. Next, we're going to install the laser head. The front of it is the 2 circles, and it's going to be started pointing in the direction of the leg. Pull that over the front groove, push the back button, allow it to drop down, and then click that back so that locks in. Now the tripod is at about eye level. We're going to take the cable from the encoder and put that into the front of the grip. So that's going to go into the front hole. That's the encoder cable. Then the power cable that will come from the battery, we're going to attach that to the back part of the grip. Make sure that's on snugly. And then we're going to take this to the labeled laser on the base of the battery. Thread that on so that it doesn't slip off easily. And then you're ready to go. So the first part of the process is to power up the laser. So the back button here called power, PWR, that turns on the laser. The first request you're going to get is to aim crosshair at reference target and squeeze trigger. The reference target will be the T-box, so that's going to be your reference, your 0. So let's use this direction. I'm going to aim it right at the T-box, at the ground, or a person standing in the T-box, and hit that. That has zeroed the laser on that. So any subsequent measurement will be made reference to that area. So if I shoot this again, it's going to say about 0 yards. If I shoot something here, it's going to be about 10 yards. And so ultimately we're going to be measuring your drive distances down range. And so you want to make sure that they make sense. But you'll shoot the person as they're standing over the ball, and you'll read out the distance they are away from that tee box in yards. And that's the primary instructions for turning this on. At the end, when you need to disassemble this, essentially you'll first power down the laser. I like to take the laser head off because that's a lot of weight, so I take the laser head off, put that back into the bag, then I disconnect the encoder cable and then the battery cable. Take the battery cable off the battery itself. Coil that up again nicely. Insert that into a side sleeve inside the yellow bag. You could take the battery off next. Take it off the carabiner. Make sure you remember to turn off the battery in case you need to use this a second day. So the red light turns off. Close that. Next we'll take the handheld grip off, unthread that, and take off the plate. Put these both back in the bag. They each have a side pouch inside the bag to hold them. You can Velcro that shut. Drop the center of the tripod back down to its shortest height. Pull the legs in. And lower the legs on the tripod. And you're back to being ready to ship your items.